What's going on, Los Angeles? Welcome into the Rams Skinny here on the LA Football Network. I'm your co-host, Ryan Dyer, joined as always by my man, Ryan Skinny T. Anderson. We are roughly 24 hours away from the NFL schedule release. Last episode, we talked about the 5 games we're most looking forward to. So in anticipation for that schedule dropping, we're going to talk about the best and worst quarterback matchups for your Los Angeles Rams in 2024. Again, we don't know the dates yet. These could change a little bit if they end up getting one of these quarterbacks away in winter storm weather. But just based on paper analysis, we'll take a look at that. And obviously, when the schedule drops on Wednesday, we'll have an episode breaking down that and getting more granular into that and talking about the release, the Rams team release as well. So hopefully have some fun. Thank you all for tuning in. As always, if you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button. If you're on the Rams LAFB YouTube page, if you're not there, you can go ahead and head there and do that same thing, or on LAFBnetwork.com or anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, wherever. You can just search Rams Skinny. So thank you all. We certainly appreciate it. But I've talked long enough at the beginning of the show. Let me bring in my co-host, the man of the hour, Mr. Skinny T. What's up, brother? How you doing?
Oh man, I feel great now that I know that I'm the man of the hour. Didn't know I was going to get that honor today.
You're always the man of the hour.
Well, the show is named after me, even though it's hosted wonderfully by you. So the Ram Skinny is, is us, not just
it's
me.
you. It's you. It's your namesake, if you will. So, digging the shirt. Nice little plaid shirt you got on today.
Thank you. It feels like fall weather a little bit. So
I was gonna say that, like I'm wearing a thermal, like it's sunny, but it's like crisp still.
Yeah.
It's a little brisk outside.
Yeah, it's still cloudy in the mornings. The sun finally peeked through, but we always have to embrace the times that we can wear layers and heavier weight clothing because it's going to get hot. Yeah. We're going to be wearing just a tissue if we can.
Yeah, gonna get real. I mean, we'll just get into it. We always talk about the weather at the top of the show. Like, why not? I guess, but I don't think people that don't live in LA or just California, I think in general, like don't realize that even in maybe not peak summer, but I would say 10 to 11 months of year, like it's like cold in the morning and then it gets hot in the day and then it's cold again at night. Like it's not like, the Midwest or even like the desert, obviously, where once it's summer and warm, it's like always warm. Or even the East Coast, New York is like, I remember being in New York in July at like 2 a.m. It was like 98 degrees with like 1,000% humidity. Whereas here, like I wake up, I have a meeting at 7:30 in the morning. I wake up and it's like cold in my house. It's like 52 degrees outside and I'm wearing like a parka in my living room. So yeah, it's just different. And then it gets like 80 degrees during the day and you're like peeling layers.
Yeah, exactly. And we're also California weenies. We got thin blood.
L7. What is that? L7 weenies from
yeah.
One thing I got to get off my chest real quick before we dive into Rams talk. So I know people always comment like, "You take too long to get into Rams talk." Just give me a second here. Because one thing that grinds my gears. It happened to me yesterday. And I was like, I want to talk to Ryan about that on the show. See if anyone out there listening ever has this issue or ever notices it, or if it drives them crazy, or maybe they're the ones that do it. But I'm in Duarte, just dropped my daughter off at my mother-in-law's house, and I'm on Mountain going up, and there's construction. So it's a 2-lane that merges into 1 lane after a stoplight, right? So the stoplight's obviously taking forever because everyone's kind of merge. But at the intersection, the other side, there's like 10 feet of the other lane still open before it's coned off, but then you basically have to stop there and merge immediately. So we all, you should take your turn. Like it's going to take a while. Couldn't stand how many people like from behind me race on up to that like little section where they can wait to try to pass everyone and then merge in and cut people off. So then the rest of us get stuck even further behind. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. Like, is your time that much more valuable? Really? Like you think you're that much better than me that you deserve to cut this line and go cut everyone else off? It's one of my biggest pet peeves. Grinds my gears.
They absolutely are. They're just better people, and that's why they have to do that. They got places to go, and the rest of us just have to wait patiently and train our good. What is patience? Patience. Train our virtues. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Like anyway, because there's like I don't have, and I still don't have like road rage, but driving, I could care less. Like I'm just like easy go, like whatever. People have their own stuff going on, but that one just it just bugs me because it's like it's so rude. Like you really think you're that much better than me? Like unless you have like a motorcade, like wait in line like the rest of us, and we'll all get there. We're all going to the same general area.
And this is Rams talk, because if you ever tried to get to SoFi Stadium,
yes,
traffic is real.
That's a good point. So next time you're going to SoFi, Rams fans, wait your turn. We're all waiting in that lame ass line outside the stadium that takes forever. Whether you're going to the pink lot, the orange lot, brown lot, whatever. It's not going to save you any time. I mean, maybe it saves you 2 minutes by cutting a bunch of people off, but you piss off people. Those are your rambly. So come on, let's not do that. Everyone just wait your turn on the streets. Let's make LA safer that way. Anyway, show is always brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. Head to BetOnline.ag today. Use our promo code BELIEVE. That's BLEAV. Gets you a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Full swing of NBA and NHL playoff games on there. MLB plus plenty of NFL futures. Rams over under is set at what do we keep? I always forget. What, 7.5, 8.5?
8.5.
One of those. Smash the over regardless. So head to BetOnline. You can hit the over. Feel real confident about that. BetOnline.ag. Tell the guys at the Rams Skinny sent you. All right. So let's dive in now. As I've said many times, schedule drops tomorrow, mañana, at 5 p.m. Pacific time. So we'll have a show up maybe tomorrow night, probably Thursday morning. Just kind of recapping that and what the Rams social team does. This is like the NFL social team Super Bowl is these schedule releases now. So I'm really excited to see what the Rams social team has cooked up. But let's go. I think we kind of talked before. We'll go 3 and 3. 3 best quarterbacks the Rams play, 3 worst quarterbacks the Rams play. We're not going to include the division. So no Brock Purdy, no Geno Smith, no Kyler Murray. So we'll take those 6 games out basically, and go from there. So yeah, let's just kind of go back and forth. Obviously, some stuff will come up. We'll get into, but let's start with you, Skinny T. Who's these will probably fall a little bit in line in like the games that we were most looking forward to. We talked about last episode, but those Rams fans that just don't know, maybe we can provide some analysis of some of these other quarterbacks. So who you got first? Best quarterback Rams
Best
face.
quarterback that the Rams are going to face in 2024, Josh Allen, Buffalo Bills.
The best. That's who you have number 1.
That's who I have number 1. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They faced their own rebuild this year. Lost a lot of players, but they have an interesting wide receiver room. Added Curtis Samuel, Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, caught about 650 yards last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, but also even with all those guys there, you really don't want Josh Allen having to go out there and win the game for you. So, or win the game against you, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
He's a one-man wrecking crew.
Mm-hmm.
The more pressure that's on his shoulders, the better he seems to play. And this year is going to be a pressure-loaded team or pressure-loaded season for this team. So, I'm curious as to when this is going to fall in the schedule, because that'll have a lot to do, I think, with exactly how great Josh Allen's going to play.
Yeah, and it is at SoFi, so luckily no worry about Buffalo in winter, so they get him at home. But yeah, I mean Allen's, whatever anyone's opinion of Josh Allen and where you rank him, I think pretty much everyone has him top 5, whether you have him 5 or 2 or 3, whatever it is. I think almost everyone has him probably top 5 in the NFL. The ability is there, the talent level is unreal, the arm strength you could say is best in football. I know, you can go argue all day with Mahomes and Herbert and Allen as the top 3 arms, but he's definitely in that 1A, 1B, 1C range. And then he can beat you with his legs, right? Like obviously everyone knows Lamar Jackson, his elusiveness and all these other quarterbacks, Justin Fields, who won't be starting this year, but his ability at running the football. But Josh Allen is just as good as any of those guys in terms of being able to create plays with his legs, extend plays with his legs, or even just QB designs they do, especially when they're close to the goal line. I mean, he's isn't he like 260 or something?
Pretty close to that, if not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big dude.
Big dude.
Yeah.
So you mentioned some of the weapons. They obviously lose their number 1 target in Diggs, and I don't think they replaced him in terms of just talent for talent, but maybe they found pieces that maybe fit a little better and aren't as disgruntled, if you will. And Keon Coleman, I think, was a really nice draft pick, who's already creating a lot of buzz after rookie minicamp up in Buffalo, and mostly for personality and stuff, but obviously a great player and could be one of those rookie receivers that has a good start that we kind of talked about recently of, some guys it takes 3 years, some guys it's right off the bat, they hit the ground running. So, and just the added layer here is with this new look Rams defense, a bit of an overhauled secondary. If this game is later in the year, we talked about it last games, right? Last episode, like I was like, I want to play the Dolphins early because I just do not want to have to face the Dolphins when their offense is humming. There's film and tape on this defense. Like you kind of want to get them early when or did I say the opposite? Did I say late? Maybe.
I can't recall, but one or the other was preferred by you.
Yeah, something like that. One or the other. Well, anyway, with the Bills, I would like also kind of this game to get early. Just, hopefully you have a little bit of that, off-season juice, and there's not a lot of film on this new defense. We'll see if that ends up being worse because they haven't played together long and had a lot of practice and haven't really found that kind of groove yet. But anyway, yeah, Josh Allen, I think by far is the best quarterback the Rams will face in 24.
Yeah, I think so. Here's the last game, which we talked about this 2022 debacle, week 1 debacle in the Super Bowl hangover year of 2022. He completed 84% of his passes. He threw for 297 yards, 3 touchdowns. He added 56 yards on the ground and 4 first downs in that game. Obviously, these are 2 very different teams, but that's just kind of that's what Josh Allen can do. And you think about the young edges that we're going to have out there with Byron Young, and then Jared Verse now on the other side likely. Those guys are going to have their hands full rushing the passer, trying to keep him in the pocket. So he is a honest to goodness dual threat quarterback and a big dude and hard dude to take down. So yeah, I think that's number one.
Yeah. And the last piece I'll say on it is, and this is what separates the good quarterbacks from the great in this one. I know he hasn't won a Super Bowl yet or whatnot, but he is a great quarterback in this league right now. But when you look at him, when you look at Patrick Mahomes, obviously, when you look at, you could maybe even throw Joe Burrow in there when healthy. I don't think Herbert's quite made this step yet. What I'm getting to, this is what will separate Herbert from just an amazing talent to elite, is Josh Allen's a guy that you can contain him for 3 quarters. He can have 2 or 3 interceptions, below average completion percentage, and then he can just beat you in the 4th quarter, or he can beat you in that final drive, or he can take the game over when it matters most. And so that's what you have to be fully committed to a full 4 quarters of defensive play. And on top of that, hopefully your offense can give you some cushion to where, you're up by 2 or 3 scores. So you're not letting them hang around, because even if you play him great early on, he can still come back and get you late. And we've seen that happen many times, not necessarily against the Rams, but against other teams. So that's the other wrinkle to like the greatness in quarterbacks versus the good quarterbacks. And I think Allen's one of the great ones.
Who's your next one?
Okay. So, this is, I guess we can call this respect factor, because I just don't really know what to expect. I'll put Aaron Rodgers as the next future Hall of Famer, but got hurt on the 3rd play last year. So technically he still has not played with this new Jets team. Technically I guess he played 3 snaps, but he has not completed a pass with this new Jets team. And so there's still a lot of unknowns. So this could be a game that he ends up not looking good or not looking like Rodgers. He is 40 years old now or whatever, up there in age, coming off an Achilles tear. But I feel like it'd be unfair to what he's done to just say he's not one of the best they'll face. So for now, I still got to give it to Rodgers as of now. We'll see if there's any reports in training camp of anything not looking great or whatever. But in May, before the schedule comes out, I'll say that Rodgers is probably the 2nd best quarterback they'll face.
Yeah, and they spent their 1st round draft pick on a offensive lineman, give him a little bit more protection.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. They also added Malachi Corley in the draft for a weapon. There was another move here. They added Mike Williams, who was released by the Chargers. I don't know how I feel about this receiving core as of today. Do you think that? I mean, what we've seen with Rodgers is that he elevates the receivers, right?
Yeah.
He demanded that he get his old core of receivers. I mean, old core of receivers in Green Bay, and that was kind of the end of his run there. With Alan Lazard. Alan Lazard's on this team too.
Yep, sure is.
Yeah. But what do you think about his receiving options? Is he going to be able to elevate all of them?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Mike Williams move was a really good move for the Jets, because you have Garrett Wilson, who I think is an absolute talent as a true possession 3-down receiver, can do it all, can do the whole route tree, catch the ball at any level, can make guys miss in space. He's got great hands. He's your true wide receiver one. Mike Williams adds an element that they didn't have. I mean, again, Rodgers didn't play last year, but Rodgers hasn't had a true, like, I'm trying to think over the course of his Green Bay career too, thinking back, like, I don't want to say he hasn't had a true dominant, like, jump ball receiver. Like, you think of those Hail Marys, like, it's like no name tight ends that have caught those Hail Mary passes. Like, it's like guys that are just big guys that weren't like necessarily stars. And Mike Williams can absolutely be a star in that role as a true jump ball, go up and get it, stretch the field type of receiver. And so it adds an element to that offense that I don't know if Rodgers has ever really fully had as a quarterback. And if he can just chuck it up there and know that big 6'5" Mike Williams can go get it, like, that's nice to have, and that's tough to defend. So, and we'll see what Corley is like after being drafted. But I think having those two certainly is two of the best talent-wise he's probably had, dating all the way back to when he had Jordy Nelson and then some of those guys, like, in the early years. So I don't think he's had this much talent in quite some time.
Yeah. I mean, I still have question marks about it, but you look at the rest of the team; they're going to have a really good defense, and this offensive line. They've really constructed something interesting here. With, I already talked about Olufushanu, first-round draft pick, Tyron Smith. They added, Elijah Vera Tucker's been on that roster for a couple of years now.
Right on.
Yeah, exactly. So it's is the big question is the Achilles. What is he going to look like? He was never particular. I mean, he looked good on bootlegs for sure, but older guy, torn Achilles. That's probably really what this game is going to come to, or I guess the Jet season is really going to come down to is he able to plant and fire and move around and all the things that a quarterback has to do. So, but like you said, you got to put him on the list. He's a future Hall of Famer, so he's here with us.
Yeah. So one could say the Achilles heel of this Jets team is the Achilles heel of Aaron Rodgers.
Excellent job. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Poet. But yeah, got to put him on there. So, all right, who you got as third? And if I agree with you, great. If not, I'll throw another name in the mix.
Well, this is where it starts to go. We have like two top guys there in Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers, and it starts to get a little bit funkier here. So I'm gonna speaking of some respect, he's in the news last couple of days. Jared Goff. I'm gonna go with Jared Goff as number 3.
Yeah.
We were got front row seats to watch his kind of decline and not really being able to throw outside the numbers and really dropped off even from an efficiency standpoint, which was, there's quarterbacks that, win in different ways. The way that Jared Goff won was accuracy, efficiency, making the right throw at the right time. And he wasn't doing that in those last couple of seasons with the Rams, but he's come back on in the last 2 seasons, more than 4,400 yards in each of the last seasons, combined 59 touchdowns. He's taking talk about elevating receivers. Again, fight on. Amon-Ra St. Brown was a 5th round pick.
4th, yeah.
4th round pick, yeah. So, elevating that guy, turning him into a legit superstar in this league. And Sam Laporta as well. 2nd round pick, I believe, for him, but that guy had a breakout season as well. So this offense is just doing a ton of right things. Mm-hmm. And luckily we've got a game in our back pockets where we saw these two teams go after each other, and the Rams defense did a pretty good job holding up.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully Thanksgiving, give it to us. I saw someone else saying like potentially like a Christmas maybe would be this game or
Oh,
something like that. So, but yeah, I'm going to talk through it and then I'll see if I want to leave him at 3 or slide someone else in. But no, Jared Goff deserves a ton of credit. Obviously, just became the second highest paid per year quarterback in football with that monster extension that he just signed with Detroit and Brad Holmes orchestrating that. Here's a guy that it didn't end. I don't want to say it ended horribly in LA, but you could tell he was bummed the way it ended in terms of just kind of getting shipped off in the middle of the night. But guy has not been hurting in the pocketbooks. He's been extended now twice, very lucrative deals before his deal has ended. Never had to sweat contract negotiations really, like it happened before it was even close to expiring. Was the number 1 overall pick, so had all that guaranteed. So he's done pretty well for himself in terms of monetary, and every quarterback usually does. But anyway, so hats off, Jared Goff. Congrats. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing with Jared. I'm really curious to see how big of a loss Jonah Jackson is, who's now on the Rams protecting Matthew Stafford. I mean, just a bully at guard. There was a major piece that offensive line, and they still have a really solid unit when you look at Decker and Sewell as their tackles, and obviously Frank Ragnow is one of the best centers in game. They got Graham Glasgow back, who was there, then went to the Broncos and back, and then they got Kevin Zeitler from Baltimore. So I would assume one of those two is probably replacing Jackson. So it's still a really solid unit. How important was Jackson to that? Because we know after watching Jared Goff for many years is he's great arm talent, great accuracy. But you get a lot of pressure on him, and he's a different quarterback, as most are, but some are much better than others, and he is not very good under pressure. Especially we saw the cover zero seemed to be his nemesis, just could not beat the cover zero blitz packages and whatnot. So how big is that? And then also is, who's going to step up as wide receiver 2? Now, obviously Sam Laporta is the technically wide receiver 2, but from the actual wide receiver position, like Jamison Williams, we really haven't seen him live up to that high draft stock. Obviously injury, obviously suspension for betting. Khalif Raymond is wide receiver 3. They lose Josh Reynolds this year. Yeah, they don't have Josh Reynolds anymore this year. And so we all know how great Amon-Ra is, Fidon. Love how great he's doing. And just, he became one of the highest paid receivers in football. But who's going to be that wide receiver 2, that other outlet for Goff if Amon-Ra gets double teamed or if he's able to get slowed down at all? Because, as good as Goff is, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, I don't know if he's one of those quarterbacks that over elevates his receivers. I'm not saying he can't, but he's not going to, he's not making nobody's look like somebody's. Like, Josh Reynolds had some nice games in there and whatnot, but outside of Amon-Ra, it's kind of like just some other dudes that, get past the rock around a little bit. So, so that'd be my only question with him. But I think looking at, who else they're playing, I need to see, and we'll get into some of these quarterbacks on worst, but these wouldn't be worst anyway. But I feel like I just need to see a little more from Jordan Love before I can rank him that high. I mean, great first season and really got better as the year went on and really into the year strong. But it's just, I hate anointing people after, 16 games or 17 games. Like, let's see it in one more season. Case in point being Jalen Hurts. I mean, he had his really, really solid season. Everyone anointed him arguably top 2. And last year was a little bit coming back down to earth. He wasn't bad, but he definitely wasn't as good. So he's a little bit coming back there. So Love, Hurts, I'm kind of debating, but I think I'll keep Goff there as their third best they face.
Yeah, it gets muddled, like I was saying, speaking of anointing too early, is it too early to talk about Caleb Williams as being one of the best quarterbacks they're going to face? Probably.
That's the only reason why I didn't. He's a rookie.
But that Bears roster is really intriguing. Every time I look into it, every time I dive into it, I mean, I think they're going to make a playoff run. I don't think they're a Super Bowl favorite, but Caleb Williams is obviously going to elevate that. So we'll just keep him in the honorable mention category, I guess.
Yeah. If this team does not make the playoffs and everyone's healthy, then yeah, they need a full coaching change. And it sucks to do that to a rookie quarterback after 1 year, changing it all up. But there's this roster. That roster is too dang good to not make the playoffs. It's a loaded. Their division is tough, right? I mean, the worst team excuse me, the worst team in their division right now on paper would be the Vikings, and that's just because of quarterback. They're good at everywhere else, every other level. They just have a rookie quarterback. So, as do the Bears, but I would 100 times out of 100 take Caleb Williams over JJ McCarthy. So,
Yeah, I was. I tuned into Up and Adams this morning, as you know, for Joe Ortiz of the Chargers GM was on there. So I was working. I wasn't just watching Kay Adams. Not that would be wrong at all.
Yeah.
It's a fine show.
Yeah.
But she was making the prediction that Sam Darnold is the resurgent quarterback for this next season, and I think everybody's been rooting for him.
Yeah,
because he's had such a hard run.
I mean, yeah, Adam Gase, just the ghost of Adam Gase just haunts Sam Darnold still to this day. Because when at college, I mean, he was so talented. Another throwing a lot of fight ons SC in here. Yeah, third overall pick. Like, he's good at SC. Big bodied, super young. I mean, he's still only 25, 26. So, wow. I mean, I'm hoping he can turn it around. And I know that Minnesota just used a 10th overall pick on a quarterback, but I would love nothing more if Darnold can win that job and play like he's capable of. So we'll see. But
well, that's a good transition to start talking about the worst quarterbacks.
Yeah.
that they're going
to play the Vikings.
They play the Vikings. If you had to place a bet, Sam Darnold or JJ McCarthy starting for the Vikings, who would you pick?
We're just talking week one.
Yeah,
week one. If I'm betting right now, I would bet Sam Darnold. I would also probably bet. I'm hoping this isn't the case because, like I said, I'm rooting for Sam, but I could also bet that potentially JJ takes over at some point. But I think Sam Darnold will get the. We'll see. I mean, I have no idea, but I think he'll. There wasn't any. Let's just say the reports from their mini camp weren't bad, but there wasn't any anyone blown away.
Right.
So, whereas, hey, a lot of Denver reporters are pretty blown away about Bo Nix. So who knows? Maybe they made the right call. Throwing 7-on-7 no pads in May.
Hey, I'm rooting for you, buddy. I've all of a sudden become a fan of all the Denver teams. I don't know how that happened. Rooting for all of them. Yeah, I guess the Vikings probably aren't the worst quarterback. I gotta throw the Las Vegas Raiders under the bus here as the worst quarterback. I don't care who's starting this game, Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell. I'm throwing them under the bus as the worst quarterback on the schedule for the Rams. What do you think?
So I think for my bottom, I think Patriots are my bottom. Drake May, who they drafted 3rd overall, Jacoby Brissett's in that room, and then Bailey Zappi, who's not doing anything. Where did they end up shipping Mac Jones to? Is he with Jacksonville?
I always forget. I write him off and he's gone. He's dead to me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Jacksonville, maybe?
I'll look it up real quick. Keep talking about the Patriots.
Okay. I think it's that. But anyway, Drake May, I mean, could be good for that system. We'll see what he looks like. I'm not saying anything bad about his college tape or anything. I wasn't as high on him as others. I wasn't down on him. I thought he should have been a 1st-round quarterback. But, when you look at all 3 of these teams in terms of the Vikings, the Raiders, and the Patriots, it's a lot of unknown. And I think that's why are we agreeing that those are the 3 that are the bottom 3?
Yeah, definitely. I like Derek Carr just a little bit too much to lump him in with those guys.
Yeah. And the dude started a decade, so we'll give him the benefit of the doubt for being a starter for that long. So, yeah, I mean, those are the bottom 3. Who I have as the absolute worst. I personally wouldn't have the Raiders just because Minshew almost still took the Colts to the playoffs last year. I mean, that final game of the year against the Texans decided who went, and it was a close game, and CJ Stroud obviously won that. So I thought Minshew, coming for an injured rookie and did some decent things. Now I'm not building a franchise around him, but he's shown me something. Whereas if it's Drake May that gets to start in New England, if it's JJ McCarthy who gets to start in Minnesota, we haven't seen in the pros. So I can never. I think I've told me and you have talked about this. I know a lot of people when they do quarterback rankings, they'll put these rookie quarterbacks up high. For me, my rookie quarterbacks always start at the bottom. So I would have even Caleb Williams would be whatever rookies were taken 6, he would be 25 or 26. And then, Jaden Daniels would be 27 or whatever. I can't put a rookie above a starting vet. maybe it's just a respect thing. I don't know. So for that reason, I would have the Patriots last, just because I think I like the prospect of Darnold and McCarthy more than May or Brissett.
Yeah,
I feel like I just rambled. I don't know if I made any sense.
No, that's absolutely fair. I think you're forgetting one thing. They also drafted Joe Milton the third.
Oh,
I don't know where the slander is for that. Now, I'm a bit higher on Drake May. I think Jacoby Brissett's going to be week 1 starter, and we'll see where it goes from there. But I think he's a couple of tweaks away from being a really good pro quarterback. But obviously, we've said that about prospects in time memoriam, and it doesn't work. It works out about maybe half the time that we say that. So, yeah. I always want to throw dirt on Gardner Minshew for some reason.
He's not a Minshew fan, huh? You don't like Minshew Mania?
I don't. It probably falls into the Baker Mayfield category. A little bit too swaggy for my taste. A little bit too confident for.
Okay. You like Baker, then? You're a Baker guy, though, aren't you? Or no?
I'm a Baker on the Rams guy.
Okay, that's fair.
Actually,
that's fair.
It's a classic story thing where it's like they start off too high. If they get their comeuppance, if they get taken down a notch, and that's where I feel Baker Mayfield is right now. But speaking of whether receivers can elevate a quarterback or not, we'll see what Devontae Adams does for Aiden O'Connell and or Gardner Minshew at whatever point those two are playing, because you look at those pass catchers on this team, they deserve a little bit better than both of those guys. They just added Brock Bowers,
Michael Mayer from last year.
Notre Dame, fight on. And Devontae, it's like those guys. That's a really great trio now, and I just hope they use them correctly, because I would hate for those guys to go to waste.
Yeah. You got to. I don't feel bad. I mean, the dude got paid too, but Devontae Adams leaving Rodgers to go chase and play with Carr, and then Carr leaves, and he's stuck with O'Connell last year, and then now Minshew, and hey, they got some good tight ends, but who's throwing the rock for him? So, those are quarterbacks that when you look at the Rams facing them. So I kind of brought this up earlier. Let me ask you this, and we can kind of wrap up with this a little bit. Would you rather, when looking at the schedule coming out, the Rams get these teams early? So like Patriots, Vikings, Raiders early, so the defense has time to kind of, get used to themselves, groom themselves, to get easier quarterbacks to go against? Or would you rather have them play the tough teams early when there's really no tape and the Rams can kind of surprise some teams, and then get these easy teams later when you're a little banged up, the season's been grueling, and then like, oh, it's week 15 and you get to play Sam Darnold. Like, oh, nice. It's a nice surprise.
Sean McVay generally starts pretty hot. So I wonder how, and last year wasn't the case. They started really sluggishly. I think it's going to take a little while for this Rams defense to find its footing. 2 new rookies that are going to be starting on the defensive line, whole new secondary. Ernest Jones is now the long tenured member of this defense, and he's still on his rookie contract.
Yeah.
So, I think it's going to take them a little while to gel. So I would prefer to start off with a couple of cupcakes, a couple of homecoming games, and all 3 of these. This would be a great way to start off the season. Just kick it off against let's say Vegas, then New England, and then Minnesota.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I know. I keep going back and forth. Like, part of me is like, all right, I want to just kick the season off with some tough games, because you don't want them to. This defense is gonna have some holes. They've added some talent. They added some nice secondary pieces in free agency. We love what they did in the draft. But it's a lot of newness. So it's like, would you rather just lean into that newness and maybe you surprise some of the great ones because they haven't really been able to see you at all? Like, if they play Josh Allen in week 1, he'll have 0 tape from this defense just because of how different it's going to be. Like, he's going in blind against this defense. Whereas if you get, Josh Allen in week 13, 14, well, now this defense has played 12, 13 times and he can pick apart the weaknesses even more. So I go back and forth, but I agree with you. Like, it would be nice just kicking off against, Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew and be able to start the season off that way. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. What do you guys think? What do you think, Ramley? What do you prefer? Maybe I'll put a poll up on LFBnetwork.com that you can find in the link below if you're on YouTube, and give it a vote. We'll put it up on Twitter too. Why not? Last question for you, Skinny. I got because we brought this up right when free agency started about Justin Simmons, who's still a free agent, Broncos all-pro safety. And this was before the Rams had signed anyone. So like, oh, that'd be a great get. Obviously, they signed Cameron Curl. They really don't have any cap, but I don't know how this is even feasible. This morning, we have it up on LAFBnetwork.com if anyone wants to check out the quote. But Bill Barnwell of ESPN suggested the Rams going after Justin Simmons. Again, he just suggested it. This isn't like sources that the Rams are interested or whatever. He was talking probably on some podcast and suggested it. I have no idea how it's feasible. I don't think they have the cap. Simmons is obviously trying to pick his perfect spot. I don't know if he's trying to hold out for more money. He'll be on a team. I mean, he's not going to not get signed, but I'm surprised it's taken this long, especially now the draft. We're 3 weeks over it. But what do you think about that now? With seeing who the Rams added Curl, drafted Kinchins, who everyone else they have. I mean, does that even make sense? Or is Barnwell just like pulling a team that just happens to be a team that like signs star players and that's why he thought about it?
Yeah, I don't know what his justification was. Unfortunately, I haven't read our own article yet. I didn't write this one, so
I didn't either. So I haven't read it. I just know it was published, and I was like, oh, interesting. We talked about that 2 months ago.
On an umbrella kind of view of everything, I like anything that you're going to do to add to this defense. So if this is the thing to do, let's go for it. But if they have some money in the banana stand somewhere, to find to add a defensive player, I would much rather have something along the defensive line or an edge rusher. For a couple of reasons. You got a second year player and 2 rookies now starting.
Yeah.
2 second year players and 2 rookies starting. So just in terms of consistency, getting say they get Josh Allen in the first few weeks, and Verse hasn't really quite found his footing yet. Mobile quarterback like that's just going to run roughshod, and I would hate to see another Bills victory that just destroys the Rams once again. So if they were able to do it, I would much rather have a defensive lineman or an edge rusher.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you look at just who's available, he just in terms of pure just talent and ceiling. I mean, he's the best player out there for sure. Being an All-Pro, Pro Bowler, tremendous. Leads the league in interceptions multiple times. In terms of just positional value, based on what they've done, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, we've talked about it a few times. Like that room is just loaded now in terms of numbers. Like. The interesting thing, though, is he would come in and be probably the best player in that secondary. So, I mean, when you look at it like that, like, well, if you end up moving on past some younger guys, like, is that worth it? I can't see them doing it, but it would be nice to have him. You figure if he's back there if it's, him and Cam Curl as your 2 safeties with Darius Williams and Tre'Davious White, Cameron Kinchins and Quentin Lake as 2 potential star money players, nickel players, like that's a pretty damn good secondary. I mean, I think it's improved anyway. The questions are up front, but I mean, that's really good if you think about the idea of adding him. But I just, with 18 or whatever secondary guys, like I don't see it being feasible.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that makes me intrigued is I was doing some research on Mike Macdonald's defenses in Baltimore the last couple of years, and how a guy like Kyle Hamilton just really unlocked that defense, turned it into number 1 defense last season, just 16.5 points per game allowed. And, if he's the queen on the chessboard, let's say, where you can just move him around in any direction, put him anywhere. If he becomes an additional blitzer, that would be something interesting. So I'm not saying that there's not value to be added with that. It would come down to the defensive scheming to get him involved on every other play of the game. Where it would be really fun.
Yeah, exactly. So do we see it happening? Probably not. But it's May, so why not talk about things like this? I am shocked he's still out there. Like I figured it would be after the draft because him being a vet, and he's like, okay, let's see how the draft goes. I want to pick exactly where I want to play, best spot. But I mean, we're 3 weeks removed from the draft. Like I'm surprised he hasn't signed with anyone yet. Maybe he'll be like that wily vet that just waits even through training camp, so he doesn't have to go to training camp. Just show up week 1 basically and put the straps on. But anyway, anything else you want to add here?
Oh, I just wrote a piece about the most underrated Rams player by PFF's standard, Ernest Jones. Man, every time I write about this guy, I fall more and more in love with it. I'm not going to give everything away. Go click on the article, people. It's on there, LAFBnetwork.com on the Rams page. But, what he adds to the run game, how he just kind of is a Swiss Army knife. We're talking about Kyle Hamilton earlier, a guy that can move all over on the place. He comes in as a rookie, hops into the starting position right off the bat. Second year, they bring in Bobby Wagner. He just takes a step back. He says, cool, I'm just going to learn from this guy. Learns a ton from him. And this year, or last season, wore the green dot, named the team captain. We had Quentin Link on the show. He was raving about his leadership qualities. Jalen Ramsey leaves. Aaron Donald's gone. Bobby Wagner gone. All these leadership forces off the team. Ernest Jones comes in and has the best year of his career. Not only did he change his game last year, he became one of the pass rushers. I think, I have his blitz numbers up on that article, and he went from, just being a traditional Mike linebacker to a guy that's, used as a blitzer. And it turns out he's really good at it. He had the most pressures of any linebacker last season, and some of the most sacks. I think 4th most sacks against linebackers. I've given away the entire article, but please go click on it.
Yeah, just click on it. Why not? It helps us out. It really does.
Tell your friends.
So, but no, great stuff. Shout out Ernest Jones, underrated by far, and as you said, the longest tenured member of the starting defense now on his rookie contract. So gotta love that. Awesome. Well, with that'll wrap up this episode of the Rams Skinny. Schedule drops tomorrow, so we will be back right away, probably Thursday. Just doing a recap of the schedule and the Rams team release of it. Excited to see it. So thank you all for hanging out with us. Again, please, if you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button. If you are watching on our Rams LAFB YouTube page, you can find it at Rams LAFB. Or if you're on LAFBnetwork.com watching, appreciate you. Or if you're listening anywhere you get your podcast to the Rams Skinny, we appreciate that. Hit that subscribe there as well. But for Ryan Skinny T. Anderson, I am Ryan Dyer. Everyone be well. Stay blessed. Talk to you all in a couple days.